That's what's painful when I was selling high-end real estate, because you didn't have a name. I didn't have a name. And I was piggybacking off of someone else's name, taking those calls. Almost everything I do that I can possibly contract out, I contract out. So whether it's a stager. Yeah, I've got a couple of degrees in architecture, but I'm not a stager.
I think it was an open house a few weeks or months ago.
Yeah.
And I saw you on Facebook sitting outside with a margarita machine.
If I continued working like I did, I think we would have lost. I think I would have lost everything.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another podcast with Melody and Raul Briones. This is the Realist podcast, where we bring on the cream of the crop, the best and the brightest real estate professionals in the Houston area. And today we have a special guest with us, Thomas Saunders. Thank you so much, Thomas, for being here with us today. We are so excited to have you and to hear all about your journey. Awesome. Are you ready to talk about it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Go.
Okay, but first, some icebreaker questions. Okay? Coffee or soda?
Coffee.
Coffee?
I don't drink either. But
No, oh, you don't? Okay, what do you drink?
The coffee, dessert coffee is always nice.
Yeah.
No, just I stay away from the sweet stuff.
Oh, good. Okay, I love it. Okay, so what do you drink instead for energy or some caffeine?
Tea.
Some tea?
Iced tea, unsweet tea.
Oh, alrighty. We have Mr. Texan here. We're going to hear a lot about that southernness that you have with you,
Most
Thomas.
people like sweet tea. I'm like, no, I can't do sweet tea.
I love that. Okay, downtown or the suburbs of Houston?
Oh, suburbs.
For sure,
Absolutely.
right? Yeah. We are right there with you. That's why we're over here, surrounded by the trees, right?
Yeah.
Okay, last one. Tom Ferry or Ryan Serhant? Do you know them?
I know.
Tom Ferry. Okay, then Tom Ferry it is. Or who else do you admire, or as a real estate coach, or somebody that you might look to?
I'm an endorsed local provider for Dave Ramsey.
That's right.
So I'm a Ramsey trusted broker.
I love it.
And
okay.
Quick little story.
Mm-hmm.
When I was in high school, that's when I first heard of Dave Ramsey.
Yeah.
I delivered pizzas through high school. And so I was listening to every song on the radio. You couldn't listen to it again. So you change it to AM and you hear this guy named Dave Ramsey.
Oh, my
So
goodness.
I've followed him for, 20-something years.
Wow. Okay, that's very cool. So during the pandemic, we had, not in the pandemic, but we had built up debt. We got married, when was it? 2016. So since we got married up until the pandemic, we had 4 or 5 years of just normal stuff that comes up. We're irresponsible with credit cards. We got married at 2021. So we started making financial decisions that weren't so spot on. And so during the pandemic, we got into Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace University, and we got debt free. We paid off maybe $15,000 to $20,000 in debt.
Oh wow!
In less than a year. So we're super grateful for everything that he has created and his people, all that stuff. So that's cool to be aligned.
I think one of the reasons why I think he means a lot is because look how many people he's helped. Not just real estate people as far as a coach, but just his basic foundation is just even if you don't follow every little rule, just if you just go with the flow with that direction, you'll end up pretty good.
I love that. And do you use any of these? This totally got started already. I love it. Do you use any of those financial advice to advise your clients?
Yeah, actually, Dave Ramsey refers, his company has a system it's set up, and they've asked me years ago that's my phone ringing now.
No worries.
Years ago to be a part of his referral network.
Oh,
so he is a broker in Tennessee, but he refers business to me.
Wow.
And I have different areas of Houston that I work that I'm responsible for. And partly just because I've been all over Houston for so many years. But we do recommend the ideas and the things that he discusses and talks about, but we don't push people away if they don't follow that program.
Yeah. Wow, I love that. Okay, so take us back to wherever you want to take us back, to the beginning of maybe even before your real estate journey. Tell us how you got started.
Okay, so taking you back, really it did start with Dave Ramsey. I was I grew up in Kingwood.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I have to back up. I grew up all over Houston, but when I got to Kingwood in 1986, I pretty much said, I'm not going anywhere else. And
Ooh.
so
You fell
my
in love
mother
with
was, yeah,
with
I
the
fell in love with just the community, just the trees. And it's a really, to me, there's not a perfect place, but
mm-hmm.
it's just, there was a lot of value. And I felt safe. That's why I raised my kids in Kingwood
Mm-hmm.
and where I could live anywhere in Houston. But
Yeah.
Kingwood is really, it does have an element of safety that other places just don't.
Yeah, for sure.
So I like that. But if I go way back, I can go back to when I was in high school. And I went to Kingwood High School. And I wasn't as fortunate as a lot of my friends. A lot of my friends that I went to high school with were able to go off to college.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have that luxury. My mother was a single parent.
Oh, wow.
And for most of my
Mm-hmm.
life. And so I didn't have those finances from the
Mm-hmm.
family.
Yeah.
If I wanted something, I had to buckle down and get it myself.
Yeah.
I bought my first car, saved up
Whoa.
money, bought it at an auction.
Oh my
And then
goodness.
I was working when I was 15. I started working early. But I was delivering pizzas at Domino's in high school, and I delivered pizzas all through my college.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to, back in those days they called it Kingwood College.
Mm-hmm.
And then now it's what
Lone
is it?
Star.
Lone Star.
Yeah.
And then I transferred to U of H, and I wanted to be an architect.
Mm-hmm.
So I studied. I had 2 degrees in architecture. I paid my own way, and when you pay your own way,
Oh my.
I think it's just a different element to it,
Mm-hmm.
where you really give it your all. And I graduated with honors, and that's
Wow.
what really got me my first big opportunity in real estate.
Yeah. And so, did you do anything with those architecture degrees?
I learned a lot. I studied the development of Houston
Mm-hmm.
and the development of Kingwood, in fact.
Oh
And
wow.
so I know a lot of things about the annexation that took place. That was already decided well before it even came up. I
Yeah.
mean,
Okay.
practically every day. The architect college was open 24 hours.
Yeah.
So there were a lot of nights where I stayed
You
at the
just
college
stayed
working all
there.
night long trying to
Oh
get the
my
project done.
goodness. Oh my. Okay, that's awesome. So, with what happened after, did you graduate? Did anything happen in between college with your going into real estate or?
I continued to deliver pizzas throughout college. Then I got a job in the Galleria.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked for a company called Brandon Allen, and we did a lot of high-end retail design.
Mm.
So a lot of it was interior, but I was part of several different teams and projects. I worked with Louis Vuitton's
Oh
stores,
yeah.
the Gucci stores, the Swarovski's crystals.
Wow.
I did a little remodel of the Tiffany and Company at the Galleria
That is
back
cool.
in, it must have been in the 90s at some
Mm-hmm.
point, and no, early 2000s. But anyways, right before I graduated, the commercial real estate market was just nothing was happening. The
Mm-hmm.
malls, they weren't opening. They just had a real problem with
Yeah.
people just not going shopping.
Oh wow.
So
Even
they
back
did a
that was whenever things were popping in the malls. It wasn't happening like
well,
that?
in 2002 and 2003, the commercial growth, it wasn't happening. So
Wow.
they cut our office in half. And I was an intern. It didn't hurt my feelings getting
Yeah.
laid off. I was still in college. I
Yeah.
didn't have a house or any
Uh-huh.
payments. I didn't have obligations
Mm.
financially. But a lot of people did that I
Yeah.
worked with. And I started questioning, what am I doing with this architect degree, right? Why am I
Oh my
doing
god.
this? Because obviously you're very easily replaceable or you're not
Mm-hmm.
very valuable if you're so disposable.
Oh my
I
goodness.
just, it was very uncomfortable. So
Mm-hmm.
early on, I learned how it felt to be laid off. And man, if I had a house payment or something, you start to worry.
Yeah.
So as soon as I graduated, I started interviewing with builders
Mm-hmm.
and other, what was it, architects and things. And then I saw this big yellow billboard and it said, "We buy ugly houses."
Yeah.
And I said, I got a minor in construction management.
Mm-hmm.
I could manage these rehabs of these houses.
Oh my
So I looked
goodness.
up every address. I went by every single office,
Yeah.
and my phone rings all the time.
Yeah,
One
that's the
thing you'll
life of
learn
a
as a realtor, broker, you live and die by the phone. My
yes.
phone's always with me, whether I'm on vacation or not,
That has been like
or in an
three
interview or not.
times in the past five
Yeah.
minutes. That's crazy, Thomas.
But so I went to this one office off of I-45,
hmm
and I had my resume and everything, and I'd already graduated at this point.
Yeah.
This was in the summer. I had all this free time, so I said, I love houses. I didn't even know anything about being a realtor,
hmm
but I said, I got all this extra free time. I'm still making a little money because I never stopped having a job. As soon as I
Yeah.
was laid off at the architecture firm, I still worked at Domino's.
Wow. So
So
Domino's is you're tight with
I
Domino's.
was with Domino's for probably 10 years. I know the
Holy
owner well.
moly, that's
Yes. And
amazing.
I should have bought a
Franchise.
Domino's, just opened up a Domino's franchise. I
Yeah.
probably still could do that. But I ended up taking a real estate course. It was so easy. And the one thing
Yeah.
that is a little bit disturbing, it's to me, coming from college right into real estate, it was just, I was so in a mode of just working and researching and
Yeah.
just accomplishing and passing
Mhm.
tests and doing
Yeah.
well. The real estate was so easy.
Yeah. It
And
was like
so I took that
compared
in
to
4 weeks. I done it. It was
oh
done.
my
And I did it
goodness.
like, I don't know, 8 hours a day. It took 2 different classes a day, something like
Yeah.
that. I don't know if you can still do that anymore, but normally it would take people 3 months.
Yeah. But you were focused. You were
So in
on it.
August, I added that to my resume.
Wow. Did you know anybody that was a realtor or
No,
anybody in real
I didn't
estate?
know anyone that was a realtor. I just
Oh.
thought, you know what? Houses, I like houses. Might as
Yeah.
well just do the real estate. And in fact,
Wow.
let me back up. My mother sold her business and went into the mortgage business.
Okay.
So that may had given me some direction.
Yeah.
But once I added that to my resume, I think that's when I saw those yellow billboards, "We Buy Ugly Houses,"
Mhm.
and I said, I got a real estate license. I'm just gonna, and I had no idea. I didn't think about selling those houses. I was thinking about managing the rehab. I was still in
Wow.
that
Yeah.
architect wannabe
Mhm.
phase of
Mhm.
mine. 'Cause I just accomplished this big degree,
I
and
know.
you had to apply and you had to get
Mhm.
accepted to get in. So I thought it was a really big deal for me.
Yeah.
But I added the real estate, wasn't a license, but I had the real estate courses, so I could be
Mhm.
licensed. Add that to my resume. And when I dropped it off at this one office off of I-45, there is a guy who was an engineer. And I didn't see him at first. I just dropped it off at the front desk,
Mhm.
and I'm on my car and I'm headed down to the next location.
Was it a brokerage office?
No, it was just a regular business office. It was an investment company,
Okay.
and they had a mortgage company there too.
Yeah.
And anyways, I guess they must have just dropped it right on the desk of the head of the company.
Wow.
It was a
How
small
fortunate. Yeah.
company. And before I got to, and I was at 1916 45. Before I got to 610,
Mhm.
they were calling me.
Oh my
Said, we want to
goodness.
book an appointment to meet you.
Wow.
Wow, okay. So I did. I went to 2 interviews with them, but they said, look, we don't have a job for you. We
Mhm.
have a real estate broker. We see you have a real estate experience or
Mhm.
license, but we don't really need that.
Yeah.
We don't know what we need. The reason why you're here is because I know how hard it is to graduate with honors with the architect degrees
Mhm.
because he was an engineer
Mhm.
and he gave up his engineering career to pursue the real estate investment business.
Oh wow.
That's how I got my start in the real estate business.
Wow, that's amazing. And so where to go from there? What did you end up doing? Did you stay at that office
I
or
did. I
yeah.
stayed there for about 6 or 7 years. I worked myself up, and when I started there was no position for me. They
Mhm.
just said, "Hey, we're going to make some rider signs with your phone number. Put them on front of the top of the signs and take the calls. We'll see how you do." And I
Wow.
had this call log, and I was just writing down all the names and numbers of just keeping track of all the
Mhm.
calls. And I ended up getting a mortgage license because I had to filter these buyers,
Mm.
and I learned how to filter buyers. I learned the mortgage industry very well. I know the programs
Mhm.
just by doing this for so long. And I knew what it took to qualify for a loan.
Wow.
And
Mhm.
in fact, since I had the license, I was able to. I would pull credit. I would have a credit application. I would pull the credit, and then I would turn that application into the mortgage company
That's
because
amazing.
the owner that hired me also owned the mortgage company.
Yeah.
So I ended up working for that mortgage company. I worked for a couple different companies all at the same time. And my first year, I don't remember how many houses I sold, but it must have been maybe 50 or so. I
Your
mean,
first year?
yeah, it was
That's
quite a
crazy.
few houses.
That's
And my
amazing.
people complain about realtor broker splits. My split was
Mhm.
50%.
Yeah.
And so I think I made like $54,000 my first year,
Yeah.
which was great going out of college. And back in
Mhm.
those days, I think that was a lot of money.
Yeah.
And it grew from there
Mhm.
essentially.
So tell me some of those strategies that you used during that first year. I heard you say writing down numbers, following up with them.
Mhm.
Was it all by paper or did you use the
Yeah, in
computer
those
for
days,
anything?
it was The company treated me very well.
Mm-hmm.
They back in those days we had this cell phone internet thing, and I just plugged it into my computer. And I had a stand in my car like a police car,
Yeah.
and so I had a laptop there in my passenger seat, and
Nice.
I'm spending most of my days traveling Houston,
Yeah.
because I never knew where the investment deal was going to be purchased.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes I'm in pretty rough parts of town, and
Yeah.
sometimes I'm out in the woods somewhere.
Yeah.
You just never knew.
Wow.
But when I had someone, we got so efficient with
Mm-hmm.
our program or strategy or process, and I was able to pull credit. I had a printer in my car. I was able to print
Wow.
and do
That
everything
is
I needed to
awesome.
do on the spot, and that's how we were able to just sell so much.
That's
And
amazing.
I'm not going to recommend that for everybody. What is the secret? The secret is to learn how to process and identify a good buyer versus a bad buyer,
Mm-hmm.
or a buyer that's not ready.
Yeah.
Let's say no buyer's a bad buyer. It's just you're not ready.
Yeah.
And so you learned the questions to ask. You learned and you listened to those
Mm-hmm.
answers, and then you were able to because you had to learn how to spend your time in the right places. You couldn't give your time to every single person that called, or
Mm-hmm.
else you would end up not making the sale or
Yeah.
as much money, right?
Yeah, for sure.
You wouldn't close as many
Yeah.
deals. And my job it wasn't really about making money. It was about I had a goal and I had these houses and I had to take care of them. And if I didn't take care of them and sell them, then there's no use for me being here,
Wow.
and I would have
Yeah.
been gone.
Wow. Yeah.
I worked myself through that for I don't know 5 or 6 years, and then the market started to change.
Mm.
When I started, they also opened up an investment bank. And that investment bank was a young new bank
Mm.
loaning money out to investors, lines of credit.
Yeah.
They call it hard money. Some
Mm-hmm.
people may be more familiar with that term
Yeah.
now. But in 2007, the market was just
Ooh.
acting different. And I ended up, the owner of the companies, multiple companies, said his biggest focus was the hard money company
Mm-hmm.
because it was struggling. There was something wrong.
Yeah.
And so he said, "You're buying houses now." So I ended up taking over his position, which
Yeah.
was, I thought, wow, that's just a huge thing because this is not a small investment company.
Mm-hmm.
This company was buying about 100 houses a year.
Wow.
And
As an investor, right?
as
This
an
is.
investment,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And I was in charge of selling those houses,
Oh my.
and I wasn't the listing agent.
Yeah.
They had one.
Mm-hmm.
I was just the buyer's agent. So my
Mm-hmm.
job, my competition was every realtor in the city.
Yeah.
So I had 40,000 realtors out here. I'm trying to sell the house before they can,
Yeah.
right? And I did it.
Wow.
And I didn't sell them all, but I was very good at selling those houses.
Oh my
And
goodness.
now I'm in charge of buying those houses.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, this is different. This is cool. And I bought in 2007, I bought about 70 houses that year.
Oh my
So I didn't buy as
goodness.
many as the owner did.
Yeah.
I wasn't as good as he is, but I was very diligent about being successful.
Yeah.
Just laser focused on, and I had to be because probably the busiest person I ever met in my life was that owner.
Mm-hmm.
The one that gave
Imagine
me the
with
opportunity.
different companies starting off new things.
Yes.
That's crazy. So, what did he have? A mortgage company, a hard money lending?
Yeah, I had a mortgage company, a hard money lending company, and the real estate investment
Yeah.
company.
Oh my goodness.
And then
So
it
much.
grew from there. There's other companies now that he owns.
What happened after those 6, 7 years you said you were with that company?
Well, so in '07 is when I was buying houses, and which was a great experience because it's a skill that once you learn, then you use it the rest of your life,
Yeah.
right? To invest. I don't like the stock market. I don't like anything because I don't understand it,
Mm-hmm.
but I do understand real estate.
Yes.
And so when I have my money, I invest it in houses.
Yeah.
So it's just a great thing that I learned. But and at the end of '07. I said, there's something wrong. We got to stop buying houses. There's just we got to stop. It's not going to be good
Mm-hmm.
because you could just feel something is wrong.
Oh my.
And I wasn't very experienced as far as I've never been through a market crash.
Mm-hmm.
But now I know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And so he said, no, you keep buying houses. We'll figure out
Oh
how to
my
sell them.
goodness.
And
Yeah.
we did. We started foreclosing on houses with the investment bank in 2008. I was directed to go back into selling houses.
Okay.
He went back and took over the buying houses. And my job was to liquidate all the foreclosures coming in and all the houses I bought the year before.
Oh
So
my
it
goodness.
took a team. I created a real estate team
Yeah.
of agents
Mm-hmm.
and had about 6 agents working under me. And we were assigned about 10 houses apiece.
Yeah.
That's about what you could manage effectively. And 2008 was a very busy year. And when a lot of agents weren't doing well at all,
Mm,
we were just having the year of our lives. We're just selling
wow.
real estate like crazy
That is
because we
crazy.
had to sell in order to prevent two companies from going bankrupt,
Oh
basically.
my goodness.
And so we did it. And
What were some of the things that y'all did, especially during those really hard times, if you remember, to get those homes sold?
well, one, it really has to do with having a good leader in that particular situation.
Yeah.
And the owner of the company was just so forward thinking, and this was like he hadn't done it before, but he
Mm-hmm.
just really thought through it. And we found out who was going to be the person buying houses when a
Yeah.
market is crashing.
Mm-hmm.
Who is going to be buying houses?
Yeah.
It's not the regular buyer.
No.
They're afraid they're getting laid off. They're
Mm-hmm.
afraid, heck, I buy a house, I'm going to rent. So if I get laid off, I can, move or something,
Yeah.
right? It's the white collar investor.
Wow.
It's the investor in the stock market. The stock markets are going down. That you're losing your value of your stocks.
Yeah.
Now those type of people want to put money into something tangible.
Yeah.
That was our new buyer.
So
So
y'all
we were
directly
targeted,
to the
the white
people.
collar investor,
Oh.
and that really grew, and it's still growing
Mm.
to this day. And it started. I know it started before that, but for me it really became big in 2008 with the white collar investor.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's amazing. And where'd you go from there?
We we sold a lot. I was tired. I had I had my first child in college, and
Okay.
so I raised my son Caden through college,
Mm.
and married my high school sweetheart,
Oh.
and of course, and then but we so I spent so much time away from home working,
Mm-hmm.
and I was in Houston, but I was not at home,
Yeah.
and it takes a toll when you don't have a good balance of family
Mm-hmm.
and business. You Something's going to give, and so I was very successful. My wife was a very good teacher
Mm.
and doing very well in her field. And we said, life is really good. Let's try to do this right. Maybe we can have a little girl. And we tried to have for a little girl, and we did. And
Wow.
we celebrated. We took a trip to Isla
Oh.
Mujeres. And then with the family, I
Mm.
took some friends and family. And she came back. And our daughter was 6 months old at the time,
Yeah.
and I still have this picture of her gnawing on this rib bone or something.
Oh my
I was like, man, it
goodness.
was awesome. But Kristen, my wife, she came back and she was pregnant again, and we thought she was nursing or whatever. I don't know,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
just one
You
dirty
never
Mexican shower.
expect.
Yeah. And then so my little son Landon, the youngest, he was like, yeah, I was made in Mexico. He
That's
loves to
so
say
funny.
that.
Oh.
But we started basically our lives with, now we have a 9-year-old son who I thought he was going to be a great helper,
Mhm.
and we had two little ones. And I think one of the
And you
hardest things,
thought you were busy.
exactly, I think one of the hardest things I've done in life is have two children close to age
Oh
because they're 18 months apart.
my,
That's
18
tough.
months.
That is
Yeah.
really tough because, and the way I see it is, you have one, good, and the other one's not happy. Maybe they're bad,
Yeah.
and then that one's happy, and that one's not happy. It's always one happy,
Never a
one child.
break.
You don't get a break, exactly. So it was, and then once they get into sports and all that, you are just like
Mhm.
consumed with sports
Oh my
when they get to
goodness.
that age.
So what did you do to try to balance all this craziness?
That's a
Beautiful
really good,
craziness
yeah,
because
yeah,
family is the most this is
right,
why we do everything, right?
yeah, exactly. And the family is everything, and I learned a lot from watching the business people I worked with
Mhm.
and watching and with my clients.
Mhm.
I ended up working with a lot of clients that were older. There were some clients that were just downsizing at some point, right? You learn about, why are these people buying these big houses and then they're too big? They can't stay in there forever.
Yeah.
I'm the kind of person, I buy something, I keep it forever. I mean, if you
Yeah.
look at my cars, they don't. I keep driving them till the wheels stop
I
turning.
love that.
I've already
That's
had to replace the
amazing.
hubs and stuff, the wheel bearings or whatever they're called.
Mhm.
But anyway, so I noticed that people make these big life purchases, and then all of a sudden they got to sell them to downsize. I'm like, and so I listened to a lot of folks. I learned from a lot watching others, I guess you could say. But I quit, is what I did. I quit working for a company that made me so successful early on. And the reason why I quit is for my kids. I had two little ones, and I said I can't continue to work these crazy long hours. My first son, there was a little bit of a distance when he was in middle school and high school. And dad wasn't there when he was a baby, right?
Mhm.
Dad was working, trying to make things happen. I started out the odds were against us.
Mhm.
We were a young couple out of high school with a baby. You
Yeah.
know, who makes it? I know no one had to say it. They didn't have to look at me and say, "You poor kid," but you knew they thought it. And so
Wow.
I was determined, my wife was determined not to let our families down.
Mhm.
We made a mistake, by just being stupid kids,
Mhm.
in high school. But we were laser focused. I didn't want to lose it. I didn't want
Yeah.
to lose the young family that I had.
Mhm.
And if I continued working like I did, I think we would have lost.
Yeah.
I think I'd have lost everything. And so I quit. I started working with another office. And at that time, I worked at Remax,
Mhm.
and I just went to a different Remax office. Actually, it was the same office, but different, like a team.
Mhm.
And I was selling high end real estate. And in those years, I mean, we're talking 2010 to maybe 2009, and they just weren't selling. No one
Mhm.
was buying these high end real
Yeah.
estate. It was just very painful. Those are the worst years I've had in real estate.
Wow.
Is trying to sell a very expensive property when the interest rates weren't right or the market wasn't right.
And how did you get into that position? Because I know a lot of, especially newer agents, they aspire, like, I want to do the luxury.
You join a team, and I think, and it was easy for me to join a team because I had a reputation
Yeah.
of, man, this guy is a hustler. He is selling
Mhm.
houses,
Yeah.
and the whole entire office of I don't know 100 something agents,
Mhm.
they knew that I was always closing deals,
Mhm.
and it weren't big deals. In the
Mhm.
investment business, you're not closing these $1 million deals.
Yeah.
You're closing back in those days $189,000,
Mhm.
maybe $125,000 deals. Eventually, it got higher as appreciation and or
Mhm.
inflation. But it was when I went, I was able to work with one of the top teams at that office, and they still want me to work there, right?
Mhm.
But it was very painful because I was doing the same thing I was doing with the investment stuff, putting my phone number out there on the signs, taking the
Yeah.
calls, but it was different. And the key difference is when you're dealing with the lower end of the market, the first time home buyers,
Mhm.
they need someone, and whoever answers that phone, it might just be that someone. If you're available, you're that someone.
Yeah.
When you start getting into the higher end markets, they want more of an expert,
Mhm.
or someone they really trust.
Mhm.
So if they're a friend, or a lot of people use their friends, which is a huge, I think, mistake. But the really smart ones are like, nope, you've got to be the neighborhood expert, or else you're not listing
Wow.
my house, or you're
Yeah.
not representing us.
Yeah.
So that's what's painful when I was selling high end real estate because you didn't have a name. I
Mhm.
didn't have the name, and I was piggybacking off of someone else's name, taking those calls, right?
Oh wow.
So that's how I did that. But I eventually, it was a really hard decision. I walked into the office and I said, I got to make a change because
Mhm.
my income had changed so dramatically. And I
Here.
get the baby.
Get the baby.
So my income had changed quite a bit. So I said, I'm going to go back to what I used to do, but in a different way. And back in those days, the foreclosures were big.
Mhm.
You were foreclosures right and left; they were everywhere. So I lived in Kingwood. I was tired of driving to Spring all the time, and so I ended up working for a company, Trillionaire Assets in Humble,
Mhm.
and selling foreclosures. And I was right back to doing what I used to do,
Yeah.
selling a lot of properties,
Wow.
and but I was a little bit closer to home.
Mm.
And then that's when I learned that balance of family.
Mhm.
And but it's a big deal. And there's an article written about me about that big change. I mean, I had to walk away from a lot of business because it wasn't all about the money. I
Yeah.
could have all the money in the world, but if I didn't have
Mhm.
my kids and my wife, then it's just not the route I wanted to go.
Yeah, for sure. Because your clients and even maybe your coworkers, they're not going to be there for you whenever you're in need or whenever
Yeah.
you're going through life. And the people that you actually need, you were leaving them to the side for these people that,
Yeah, and it was taking a it does. It just there's no magic pill,
yeah,
or you have to give time.
yeah,
And who are you going to give that time to? Are you going
hmm,
to give all your time to your business
yeah,
and none to your family? And I've got business people that I've worked with that did that, and I
hmm,
watched what happened. I watched the
yeah,
results, And yeah, they ended up with a lot of money,
Mm.
but something sacrificed
Yeah.
before that.
So how do you advise, because I know seeing you guys, it takes so much. If you want to be able to be successful, or if you want to sell your listing, it takes a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of your resources. What do you suggest? Like, how do you balance that?
You balance it, you can't do it all. So
Mhm.
you have to find people to help you. And that can be in a form of another agent, it can be in a form of an assistant, it can also be, and it is in a form of another specialist. Almost everything I do that I can possibly contract out, I contract out. So whether it's a stager, yeah, I've got a couple of degrees in architecture, but I'm not a stager.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, I
Uh,
use someone that's going to be better than me,
mhm.
and I pay for that.
Yeah.
And photography, yeah, I can take pictures on my phones, and I cringe when I see agents do that online. I'm like, really, you're doing that? It's huge disservice to your seller.
Mhm.
But I use photographers. Now I get, granted, some of the investment stuff that are just terrible looking houses,
Yeah.
I don't really need a photographer. We're trying to sell a different something else.
Yeah.
But especially when you're doing the high end real estate, you better use a photographer. You got to. And it's just transcended down to what? That's just what my basic service is going to be. I
Mhm.
want professional pictures. And so that's draws it back to you really, but
Yes.
that's the answer. You have to find people that are going to do something that's better than you.
Yeah.
And that's part of it. So I have an assistant, and I don't really remember how many years now I've had Haley,
Yeah.
but maybe it's 10 years now. It's a long
Wow,
time.
that's amazing.
and and I was so afraid to let go of the paperwork and writing the contracts. And yeah, there's mistakes. Heck, I make mistakes. But if someone else makes a mistake, you just roll up your sleeves and fix it and move on. And but you get so much of that time back that keeps you laser focused on doing what you're good at doing.
Mhm.
And I was good at solving problems. I had done so much business, ran into so many problems in the investment business. You really learn how to resolve issues.
Yeah.
And it's just time. It takes time. It takes transactions to really get that
Mhm.
boots on the ground experience.
Yeah.
And so I just had to focus on it. And by focusing on that and letting others take care of other things,
Mhm.
yeah, I had to give some of my income away to make that happen. But my income grew quite a bit more by being focused.
Yeah. Absolutely. I We have seen the power in taking people's help, like not doing it alone. Getting that assistant that helps you out, getting partnering up with all the another person. Like, we don't at first it was a fear, oh, I'm not gonna have all the benefits or all the maybe the income but they free up your time so that you can double up in work that you're able to
Right.
do.
And you think, golly, okay, fine. I free up the time. I'm not busy anymore because she's doing the paperwork. Now what do I do?
Yeah.
It'll happen. You will figure out. You just it will naturally come to you and say, okay, I'm just going to do this. And every day, something in my office is being done.
Yeah.
Whether I do something or not, something is being done in my
Yeah.
office. And sometimes that allows me to take a day off during the middle of the week
Mhm.
and just okay, the phones aren't ringing, it's
Mhm.
slow. Let me focus on some of the projects that I have personal.
Yes.
You do that. I have a boat in Clear Lake. Sometimes I'll just go to the boat and hang
Oh my
out and
goodness.
just and relax and then take calls from there because you can
Yeah.
take calls from anywhere.
Yeah.
And the boat's close enough to where if I got to go show a house, I jump in the car and I'm
I
gone.
love that.
I sell houses down in Galveston all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So having that boat there is a kind of a midway point where I got internet and I can go there the night before and sleep. I've got an early appointment.
Mhm.
So it really makes it doable.
And like you mentioned, you are your brand. Your name is what people want, why people call you incessantly. Talk to me a little bit about that. How are you getting so many phone calls? How are you keeping your business alive? What are you doing for marketing yourself, marketing your business?
Sometimes you market more than other times.
Mhm.
I mean, the last couple of years has been so incredibly busy, and you still market, and you're like, golly, it's just so busy, and you start to pull back some of that marketing.
Yeah.
But you have to be consistent, I think.
Mhm.
And a lot of people, I don't like cold calling. I really don't like.
Why not, Thomas?
And I think and honestly,
Mm.
I think when you haven't called someone in a long time, it still feels like a cold call.
Yeah.
And I don't like to be fake. I don't like to come up with, oh, I just wanted to check on you. Oh, really? Because my CMA said I need to call you.
You're
That's
next on the
right.
on the
Yeah. And that's
list.
just not how I do business. And a lot of coaches would say you need to do it that way. That's just not how I did it. And so I do want to stay connected
Mhm.
because it does hurt when you have a client, even a family member sometimes, and they use someone else. Are you kidding me? What are you now? If I wasn't good, I could understand that, but I,
Yeah.
think I'm pretty darn good at what I do,
Yeah.
and I almost feel sorry for them. It's like, why would you do that to yourself?
Oh my goodness, yes.
Really. And I'm not. I can't say I'm the best on the earth. I am pretty darn diligent at what I do, and I've
Yeah.
got a really good system. And people know that if they call me, they know they're going to get a call back.
Mhm.
They're not afraid. I got title people that call me. They're not afraid to call me.
Yeah.
So as far as the marketing though, I do have a farm area. I've backed off on it. I'm still, in the workings of doing some farming, but that's not really where, I've farmed very heavily for years and I was the top agent of that neighborhood,
Mhm.
but it still wasn't enough. Farming one neighborhood is not enough.
No.
I think Facebook is a really good tool. I do evidence of success. Or
Yeah.
when I sell a house, sometimes I'll sell 4 or 5 in a week. I'm like, I'm not going to post all these this week. We'll spread it out the rest
Yeah.
of the month. But people need to know that you're still out there closing deals.
Mhm.
But people don't need to just see nothing just that. They need to see that you're a real person too.
Yeah.
And my wife, she does not like the Facebook bragging and all that stuff. So, I mean, there's a lot of family stuff that she just won't even post.
Yeah.
But Facebook, there's a value there, especially if you have a
Mhm.
business. People need, and it's a tool to stay connected, right? So we do that. I do Friendsgivings. So
Love
I'm very
that.
big. I like to give back. I like to host. And I know I don't have enough hours in a day to stay connected to everybody that I know.
Mhm.
So I try to put on one heck of a good time
Mhm.
at my house for friends and families and neighbors to come over and says, hey, if you're in town, come on over. I guarantee it's going to be a great time.
Mm.
And so I've got one coming up November
Yay.
18th. And we're about to actually, the marketing is going out this week for it. But that's one of the things that I do. I like Christmas. I like
Mhm.
Christmas lights. I like to decorate. I like kids. I like the kids that are good, but I like the idea of being a kid, right?
Mhm.
The kid being wild. Wow, look at these lights, or
Aw.
Santa's coming, and that's
Yeah.
just a really great, just part of my life that you always treasure, right?
Mhm.
That innocence.
Yeah.
And so I like to add to that idea. And that's why I decorate my house. My kids could care less if I decorate my house.
Oh my
You go
goodness.
by my house, it's the pirate house right now because everybody knows every
Oh,
Halloween
that is
the
too
pirates come out,
cool.
right?
Thomas,
And
we gotta go check out that
yeah,
pirate house.
I got pirates climbing the side of the
Oh
house and
my
all that. Yeah, it's
goodness.
pretty neat.
That is
And
fun.
my neighbors are they got 911 on speed dial. They're like, man, you better get off that ladder. And it's even worse when
Yes.
Christmas comes
Oh
because
my,
we decorate like crazy.
I love that.
But I do that really for kids because I think just wowing the kids. I
It's
do
fun.
every year. I do a hayride. I do a holiday
Oh, that's
hayride. So I get
fun.
my tractor. It's my tractor,
Oh.
and had it redone a couple of times now. But
Is it the one you took on the listing video? Or
yes, that
yeah.
one. Yeah, when I listed that ranch.
That was so
Yes, that
cool.
one was her tractor, and it runs like a top. It's an
Wow,
old
that's amazing.
1950s tractor. And get the hay and do the hayride, and it's just a big deal. And it's hot cocoa and a
Yeah.
hayride, and it's just something I think a lot of people with children really
Mhm.
appreciate because not a lot of people do that anymore. I like that old fashioned thing, the element to it.
Yeah.
And so we do that every Christmas. But I really want to try to do an Easter event. It's just when Easter starts coming around, I get so busy and it's hard to
Yeah.
do. But my goal is to try to do something like that. So I don't like to call people
Mhm.
and be fake with this cold call feel. I don't like that at all. But offering something to your clients and your
Yeah.
family and friends to say, hey, I'm putting this on and I'm doing this to stay connected.
Mhm.
And if you want to stay connected, hey, join me.
Yeah.
I think that's more genuine.
Mhm.
And so people call me. They're already calling me now saying, "Hey, I haven't got an invite yet, but I just want to know what date
Yeah.
it is. 'Cause I'm trying to plan
They already know.
my
I love
November.
that.
That already it's like almost taking a life of its own, and people just
Mhm.
want to do it. But it's so much fun. I got
Yeah.
live music. We have really great food. I support other businesses that are local as far as the food. Try to get their name out there.
Yes, that's amazing.
So that's how I do it. as far as the marketing. Um,
So to finish off this part of real estate, not really, but you did an open house. I think it was an open house a few weeks or months ago.
yeah.
And I saw you on Facebook sitting outside with a margarita machine, or what
Yeah.
was it? That was so creative. I was like, if we were nearby, we would have to stop by.
Just wait for Christmas because I'll do something else that's a Christmas theme.
Yeah.
I like doing that. But make it fun, I guess you
Yeah,
could
for
say. You know, a lot of people
sure.
don't have enough fun in life. Life is
Yeah.
too short. And well, yeah, so I did that. So one of my big like boxes that I had to check in my life was I wanted to buy my own margarita machine. Okay. Now I don't drink margaritas hardly.
That
I
is
mean, but
hilarious.
I have the machine, and it's a
Yeah.
very commercial machine. It's
Mhm.
great, and so I use it when we do parties and stuff. But
Yeah.
I said, you know what? I want to do something the realtors can recognize because realtors like to relax a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Blow a little steam off and have a margarita, right? We'll
Yeah,
have a
for
little realtor
sure.
happy hour.
Yeah.
I am doing everything I can to get people to show up to open houses,
Mhm.
especially when the market starts to slow.
Yeah.
Make it creative, make it fun.
Yeah.
I used to do lunches, really nice lunches for realtors, and I would get the regulars that, hey, it's Tuesday, I want to go get a good
A
lunch,
nice free
and
lunch.
and that's great. But it's really
Mm.
part of that is really there's a marketing element to that. By the way, just because you don't get a lot of realtors to show up, or you maybe get the regulars to show up,
Mhm.
it's an opportunity for you to connect to realtors. And in the real estate business, it's important. You don't want to spam them or
Yeah.
else you'll just get unsubscribed or you'll get blacklisted or whatever.
Mhm.
And maybe I am. I don't know if I'm blacklisted or not. But when I make offers on other properties, realtors want to work with me. And I'm a very diligent at my negotiating and strategy, and I really think through what I do
Mhm.
a lot. And so realtors may not like that part of it, but it's already too late. You already
Yeah.
accepted my contract, right?
Yeah.
But no, but I do have a good reputation, and I think part of that is that fun element that I've created is, hey, let's do a realtor happy hour. It's 5 o'clock
Yeah.
somewhere, and come over and come. It's Friday. Come have a margarita. Come check out
That's
this house.
fun.
Have a good time and help me.
Mm.
And I do try to do those kind of creative things. The food doesn't always attract people. Anyone can do a nice dinner
Yeah.
or a nice lunch, but margarita machine when it's hot outside.
Yeah.
So that was fun to do.
That was
But
very
that's a
creative.
little, maybe it's creative, but it's just trying to have a little fun.
Yeah, for
And I'll
sure.
drink one margarita, two margaritas, but when you own a margarita machine, you can have them anytime. It's just like, it's kind of like my kids in the
You
boat.
took
They
the
can go to the
fun
boat anytime. They never want to go to the boat now.
Oh, yeah.
It's a shame.
Yeah. Okay, so to finish off, I have one question for you. What is your favorite or most important failure or learning lesson from the past
Right.
that has
So I read that earlier before we started,
Mhm.
and man, it affected me, and I was like, golly, I've got to talk about it. But the biggest failure of my life that I can look back, or I think is great. What was the question? It was
What is something you can look back on that has led you to succeed now?
yeah, yeah, I guess the biggest screw up that I could ever say I did, and there's a lot of them, but is getting my girlfriend pregnant in high school, and the reason is I was very strong minded, right,
Mhm.
hard headed. Some people could say, my mother would say, I'm sure, but
Strong-willed.
very strong willed. And that strong will can go both ways. It can cause you to do really stupid, bad things,
Yeah.
and it can cause you to do really amazing, great things.
Mhm.
And wasn't trying to be amazing or great. I was just being a dumb kid in high
Mhm.
school. And we got married, and that was partly the reason. Is she's pregnant, got to better step up to the plate now. But it was a life changing mistake. And some people are like, I don't know. Maybe some people don't snap out of that. But for me, when she was pregnant, I no longer lived for myself.
Wow.
I lived for now someone else. I basically sacrificed myself at that point. You
So
know,
young.
yeah.
At 17, 18?
Yeah, I was it's worse than that. I was a senior in high school. She was a freshman. You know,
Oh my
so
goodness.
yes, yeah. So I graduated. Thank God I didn't go to jail. Um, but actually, I did go to jail, but that was another story. I was a kid. I wasn't a troublemaker, but I got into
Mhm.
trouble,
Yeah.
and I made bad decisions
Mhm.
in high school, and that was one of them. That was probably my biggest bad decision. And how do you write that? How do you make it into something good? And it's just, I think it's almost in a way sacrificing yourself, being such laser focus on
Mhm.
being successful. And I think that's the only reason why I'm successful today is because I did not want to let down my father-in-law. I didn't want to let down my family's name. Golly, it's a big loser thing to do to
Yeah.
knock up your girlfriend in high school. That's a big mistake.
Mhm.
But that's what I did. And then it was a big life changer. And it was all about focus.
Yeah.
If you focus on anything that you want to do, you will accomplish it.
Wow, that's powerful. And I think that's a powerful way to end it, with this way that, like you mentioned, other people could take it the wrong way and take a different path in life. But you use that to push you forward and to be the successful real estate broker that you are today, right?
Yeah.
I love it. Thank you so much, Thomas, for being here. It has been a blast learning. I learned a lot today. So I'm excited to get this out soon to the public. And thank you again, Thomas.
Thank you for the time.